I'm starting it. You know I'm down for whatever tonight. I don't need to find a thing tonight. No matter. Let's go, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome.
Let's go, guys.
We have a great show about wine this evening. Toshi, let's get us pumped up over here.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. Let's go, Dynamo. Let's go. It's Food Noun O Clock.
It is Food Noun O Clock. It is the Wednesday show. We're doing it big. We're really excited about this, actually.
I thought it was Wine O'Clock. Am I in the right place?
You are in the right place. You are in the wine place.
No.
Wine Bodie, it's always wine o'clock with you.
It is now, isn't it?
Wine.
This is a really great use of the TNS Soapbox space. We're super excited to be here this evening to give a little bit of our food noun perspective on the nounish ecosystem, to bring up a prop builder and really just kind of dive into some of the specifics and the conversations around nouns, wine, or wines of nouns. So let's make sure that we have everybody here ready to go. We do. We have our guest this evening, Wine by Nouns. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for hosting me, guys. I'm excited to be here and talk about collaborative potential.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. We'll definitely talk about collaborative potential, as we really see a lot of opportunity in all of these types of collaborations, and we really think that food nouns can be one of these things that helps like show off a bunch of these food and beverage crops that quite honestly are going to start rolling in hard and fast into the nouns ecosystem. You know, I looked on the prop house within this current round. We have a food blogger who's trying to win the prop on a food blog, and so it's really starting. It's really happening. But this evening we are going to focus on wines by nouns, and so thank you so much for coming. We are here hosting the show from Munich, Germany this evening, and we have been spending our evening hanging out, getting warmed up with people from all around the world, dancing, listening to 1990s music at the bar, and really just getting in the mindset of wine by nouns. So, wine by nouns.
Hey, I think a great place to start, first of all, don't forget, we want as many people in this room as possible. So let's go ahead, click that bottom right button. You're going to go ahead and retweet this room, right? So we want to make sure there's as many people as possible in this room. We'll give it a couple of minutes just to be able to get some new people here. Let them know where space has started. We are so excited to actually talk with you. Wine by Nouns. I haven't quite seen a wine proposal yet, so we are very, very, very excited. Like we're actually very stoked that you chose FOODNOUN O Clock and this TNS Soapbox to be able to talk with us tonight. So go ahead and retweet that room. Make sure you DM it to people that you think would be interested in this space. And, no matter how many people end up being here, it's going to be a fantastic conversation. So we will be giving out an award of 0.069 ETH for a random person that retweets this room. So don't forget to retweet the room.
It's an interesting number.
And then we will just continue this conversation the whole night. It'll be so fun. Thank you so much, Wines by Now, for joining us. It's so special.
We are honored, and like I was saying before, we really do want to actually take advantage of the fact that like we're all foodies. Most of the time foodies, they also understand wine and spirits and beer and all this great stuff, and so we just felt that it was really a cool thing that we were able to connect on the Discord call the other day, and I just wanted to say thank you for being so proactive and jumping into this conversation with us this evening. We're just going to dive right into it. Okay, so here we go. So Wine by Nouns. I just want to first and foremost say congratulations on being first to market, because being first to market has a lot of value, and within that value you also there's a lot of experimentation. Sometimes people have these amazing ideas and they're too early, and that happens all the time. And so here we are now, and we want to support you on your journey with Wine by Nouns. We really want to make sure that the Nouns understand exactly what it is that you're attempting to do here with Wine by Nouns. And so I think that this will be a great opportunity for you to share a little bit with the community. The space this evening is recorded, so if anyone is not able to join us, they will be able to come back and listen to this and use it as a reference for your guys' project. And so Wine by Nouns, I hope that you have a glass of wine poured this evening, perhaps a small cheese plate that has been appropriately brought to temperature, and the cheese needs to be out of the refrigerator for a few hours, perhaps some slight crackers, and a little bit of like a dip or some type of spread to go on there. But we are here. So Wine by Nouns, you have found discourse. You have found what is one of the communication channels for new prop builders in the Nouns ecosystem. And congratulations on doing that. It's a bold move. I can speak from experience that going in that direction where you throw something out to the main ecosystem without really knowing what type of response you'll get, it is something that does require some bravery and a strong belief in your project. So please start us off this evening and just introduce yourself and just kind of tell us where some of your inspiration comes from.
Hey guys. Thanks so much for the introduction and the platform to introduce everything we can bring to Nouns. We have run. I have a wine company. Historically, we've specialized in wine for events. We bring all of the wine to about 5 or 6 music festivals every year. The largest one being Telluride Bluegrass Festival. Then COVID happened and there were no events, so we pivoted and went national direct to consumer.
Yep.
And launched online national direct to consumer, and that's been going for about a year or so. But it's a lot to get off the ground as one guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that's what makes Noun so interesting, in that it brings the potential to already have an established brand to like the hard work that we put into all the systems. I don't know if I'm going the right direction with your questions here, but we make great wine, and we send it to 41 states. We do wine clubs, and we do food pairing recipes, which is probably a great thing to chit chat and spitball on with this podcast. Wine and food are amazing together when that's done right, and it's really fun. I mean, even using the wine in your cooking, not just sipping on it while you do it, and really just helping set an experiential platform to enjoy something like cooking and bringing people together by food and wine, and that's some of the inspiration for why we do what we do, and why we're here today.
No, that's amazing. And there's always there's an origin story. Whatever it is that anyone really is talking about within the Nouns ecosystem, there's always an origin story. And that origin story, generally speaking, crosses over different paths of life. The Nouns ecosystem is a really fascinating experiment in human behavior and human interaction. And so we hope to touch on some of that humanity tonight. And I know that COVID has presented challenges to different business models throughout the world, to say the least. And so we really appreciate that you have, made it here and found the Nouns. And so let's talk a little bit about what happened before COVID. And so are you a foodie? Are you a sommelier? Where does wine come from in your life?
Yeah. So all the way back to the beginning, and I went to CU Boulder for college, and my friend's dad was the guy who was my roommate. My friend's dad, his dad, was the guy who did marketing for Coors, which is from the town I grew up in Golden, Colorado. And he's the guy who did the Blue Mountains on the cans. And sophomore year, we had this house that we used to throw really really epic house parties at, and he hooked us up with like neon lamps and like uh, all these cool posters, and we had this garage that we called the the party barn, and we would just buy a bunch of alcohol and we'd throw really 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 fun parties. And so that was a long time ago, but that's kind of where my inspiration started, like right out of college. And I figured I could sell wine. I actually, right out of college, I worked on Wall Street as a proprietary trader for a year and a half, and I ended up quitting that and going surfing in Australia for 3 months. And toward the end of that trip, I started my wine business because I figured I would do something that inspired me. And I was very inspired still at that time about how people came together over alcohol. And I saw a business opportunity in wine because everyone in Australia was doing higher end wines in bag and box format. And back home, the only people doing it were Franzia and Vela. And I was like, okay, here's a business opportunity. Okay, here's alcohol bringing people together. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for this thing. And the business model has like evolved in from one thing to the next for 10 years. And this online national direct to consumer model feels really at home. We see a lot of potential with it, and we have all of the I've over the last decade I've built all of the systems that can accomplish this goal and this inspiration that I've had in alcohol being a fun part of bringing people together and community.
It's fascinating that you're like so quick to talk on that and touch on that, because I'm here in Munich, Germany during Oktoberfest, and I have never actually seen so much camaraderie around drinking. I mean, I am an American guy. I have done plenty of drinking with the friends, and really and truly coming to Oktoberfest in Germany really drives home the idea that drinking is part of being a person. It's part of it's part of maybe letting your guard down a little bit, throwing an extra hug, a couple high fives, and we've really seen firsthand just the joy that people have when they have a chance to sometimes hang out and enjoy alcohol. Now, that being said, we all know that alcohol can be sometimes not handled correctly, but we are Nounish. And so that's not our assumption here. And that's not going to be the assumption. It's incumbent upon chefs, restaurateurs, sommeliers, foodies to appreciate alcohol. Even if someone does not actually drink alcohol, you would be fascinated by the amount of chefs and restaurant owners that actually don't drink alcohol, but they understand very clearly the importance of alcohol to their business model and to their community. And so I really applaud you for understanding the community element of it. And for that reason, for the rest of the night, we will be known as the Party Barn. So here in the Party Barn, we are going to truly enjoy you being here. I have a little factual tidbits that I prepared for the show. So I have noticed some of your packaging. We'll talk about packaging and stuff here in a little while. But the first canned wine in the United States came in 2002, according to Google, and it was the Sophia Mini Blanc de Blanc from Coppola. So there you go. That, according to Google, was the first wine in a can. And I will go back further in history to the first boxed wine. The first packaged, quote unquote, cask wine was invented in 1964 with a polyethylene bladder. And here we are now, many years later, and everybody knows that you can go to the grocery store and buy a box of wine. And I think that the novelty of that has frankly worn off. Box wine is ubiquitous. Box wine is something that we understand to be a delivery vessel. A lot of times when we talk about kitchen products or food items, we talk about delivery vessels. I mean, how does something actually get into that person's glass or on their plate? And a box of wine represents, frankly, thousands of hours of research, millions of dollars of research to create a system that can potentially offer a more ecological lighter carbon footprint. And so I would love to talk to you about the packaging, but yes, we in the history of time, we are a little bit further down the road in the boxed wine world and slightly further down the road in the canned wine world. And so maybe we start there. If everyone goes and looks at the Wine by Nouns discourse, you can see that the first round of the discourse is proposing packaging and design creation elements. And so let's start with that. Let's talk about that and hear some of your thoughts around the packaging and where you guys have found yourself, because frankly, it looks as if you're pretty talented at setting up systems and creating, a legitimate business structure. And to be completely honest, I think that that's lacking sometimes within the Nouns ecosystem. I think that we have a lot of creative and talented individuals, but we don't always have necessarily business people, and we don't have people that always have, they don't quite have their sea legs. And so it looks as if you have already gone down that road and done quite a bit of DYOR and research as to your business model. Can you speak to some of the decisions that you have made previous to the proposal and just your general approach to the I apologize. I don't remember how exactly you said it, but was it consumer on demand, or what are we calling this here?
National direct to consumer.
National
Um,
direct to consumer. Excellent.
yeah,
We would love to hear more about that.
yeah. Well, first of all, toward the beginning of what you were saying, um, the lifestyle element of it and how alcohol is or can be a part of uh, a fun communal experience, and very often is. Um, you know, it's important to not get carried away with things, and you know, you use wine as like a part of a lifestyle if it fits your lifestyle. It doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle, and some people go too far with it. And everyone has to be responsible with their use to it. So I just wanted to note on that real quick. But as far as packaging and the national direct to consumer channel and the systems in place that can deliver on this roadmap is first our packaging. The cans are our newest line of production capability, and everyone just loves them so much. They hold our little six packs. They hold our six packs, and they're like, my very own. They say things like that, and that's because the brand and our ability to deliver packaging designs and website designs to resonate with brand messaging is effective, and we can swap brands and collaborate with the Nouns community to deliver Nouns very own um, you know products that are as well loved as our other products for people that have a place in their lifestyle for great wines. And before I get carried away on some of that lifestyle inspiration stuff that we can deliver, I'll talk a little bit about our packaging, which is so much more environmental for starters. Glass bottles are not great. A large percentage of glass does not make it into recycling because the pieces aren't large enough if they get smashed up. So a lot of it ends up non-biodegradable in landfills forever. Um, but then also the bottles that do get recycled um, take a lot of furnace power to recycle and boil those down, and the uh, hauling around all of that weight, like glass is heavy, and that every bottle like transfers into a certain amount of vehicle emissions that are required to transport it. And like our products are a 99% reduction in waste weight. They're a massive reduction in furnace emissions uh, required. So that's like kind of the environmental side of things. But then also aluminum recycles very easily. But then like as far as a consumer standpoint, like the the format is no spoilage. Like, when you open a bottle, it's like, well, I don't want to drink a whole bottle tonight. Like, our formats put portion control like back in the hands of the consumer instead of it being like, oh, well, I don't know if I should open this, or I don't want to have this many glasses of wine, or I don't want 2 days old wine because I had one glass the other night.
It's a
And
lot
so,
easier than having to get the pump out and pump the bottle.
what's that?
I said it's a lot easier than having to get the pump out and pump the air out of the bottle.
Yeah, that's right. And many people don't have one of those things. But
Exactly.
when you have one little glass of wine in a can, like it's just perfect. And when you can pour it on tap from your fridge, which, by the way, is not really something I included in the proposal, but it's certainly something we can deliver. we're kind of moving a little bit away from bag and box, even though I really do like that format, just because the cans, like, people love those way harder. And I like
Yeah.
to use them more often. Like, they're more bringable. It's like a little charcuterie bite. Like, it's better to have just like pre-made, like chef made perfect little charcuterie bite that's on a table, and it's just like, oh, I can just pop one of those in, rather than like, oh, I have like a whole fridge full of ingredients. Like, it's just so much more convenient. um, but we can certainly deliver on wine on tap in your fridge, which has its own set of benefits as well. But hopefully that's some decent brushstrokes on our packaging.
Yeah, definitely. And, I could, I have a few more questions about the packaging and all that. And I completely agree. I think that, the reality of someone taking wine in a box down to the river or to hang out with their friends or to the park, that has kind of created itself, but in a way it also hasn't. And, America especially is definitely conditioned towards cans. And there's something interesting about that form factor, just from like a personalized experience of the drinking. And so I see where you're going with that wholeheartedly. I definitely encourage you to continue to look at the larger packaging options as well, because I do think that the wine in the box does present um, a good option for multiple people who are drinking it, at the same time or whatever. And alcohol is like anything else. Everybody kind of has their own approach to it. So having different form factors seems to be kind of like a very smart business model. And so I'm super curious about that. I noticed in your prop that you had mentioned that the box also presents quite a bit of square footage or square inch to do branding and storytelling. Can you speak to some of the storytelling that you intend to do with the brand?
Yeah, like, so like I think the word you're looking for there is real estate on the packaging, that we can use for educating about nouns. In the product mock-up on the discourse proposal, I added little tiny elements of that, like across the top on the six-pack box, it says one noun equals one vote. I was looking at one of the T-shirt proposals in the Discord um, today, and there were like cool little like one-liners about nouns on there. The like so like I think part of Nouns' challenge in growing is one of the same ones that we face as a wine company as well, and that is education. Um, and I mean, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the conversations with new people who don't know what wines is, or sorry, who don't know what nouns are or nouns is, and it takes that education through the process, and it takes time. It's not something that people just get instantaneously, but it's one of those things where once they get it and they're like all about it, and it hits deep and it hits different, and it's an exciting thing that people can feel part of. And so we share that challenge in education. So it's a
Absolutely.
really kind of interesting thing to team up on and utilize each other's strengths for, because we need to do the same thing. And if we go in on the same vehicle, to slowly and surely educate people about nouns, we can do that with wine. I was actually just reading one of the blogs I read with some regularity today about this lady who does like corporate training, where she like uses these like fun experiences as learning modules for corporations. And I was like, wow, that's like totally what like we're trying to do. And it was really just cool to see that validation happening for someone that was very seemingly professional and very successful business person using the same concept to educate. And that's what great wine can do for nouns. And one little example of that on the packaging is like one noun equals one vote. Or at the bottom of that 6-pack, it says virtuous cycle. And it's like, well, what is that, right? Like, people don't know what that is, but those boxes open up, and there's room, like right where it opens up on the front. We usually use that room to talk about like where the grapes come from, which I think is something that's really great. The other thing is like there's going to be a supplementary marketing campaign that's backing up and supplementing the experience of Nounish wine. And in that campaign, we have more marketing real estate. And the key is here to like not be overwhelming about like, you know, like throwing the deep, meaningful stuff at people about nouns, but rather just whining and dining them and like introducing very fine parts of nounish culture and some nounish magnetism through excellent experiences and arousing people's curiosity and, you know, letting people be the driver, letting people reach their own place within the community and like pleasantly learning about wines through great wine.
I love that. And there's props in right now for a lot of storytelling, a lot of expansion of the meme. Really and truly what we're talking about here is a multiple different touch point throughout the nouns ecosystem, whether it's wine or skateboarding or it runs the gamut. And so again, I just want to say kudos to you for being first to market here. And I do think that should work to your advantage. So let's dive in a little bit on, some of the specifics and stuff like that. So without, worrying about packaging and all of that great stuff, let's talk about the grapes. Let's talk about the grapes. And so, I'm a chef. I love wine. I love pairing wine. I love the varieties of wine, the variations, the stories, the history. What are some of your goals with the wine by nouns to just inherently translate wine and nouns? Wine is a large thing, but you guys have a really great opportunity here to, like you said, create flavor, create experiences. I definitely want to hear more about your supplemental marketing. And, in reality, we also have some members in the room this evening who are here to hear your ideas and your thoughts and on the growth of your project. I know that the first part of your project is geared towards, it seems as if it's geared towards branding and creating a clear path forward. You guys have done a good job of transitioning your previous skill set into the nouns ecosystem. Let me ask my first question. How did you find the nouns?
Yeah. So actually, a friend of mine who has been in crypto for a really long time was in town about a month and a half ago or so, and he was all stoked on it. I don't know if he has one yet, but he kind of said he was probably going to buy one. But he was all kind of stoked on it, and then he introduced it to me. And I was like, oh, and I just got rabbit holed big time, and I was like, this is wild. Like, this is so fascinating. This is the most interesting form of like social collaboration. I just see so much potential, and like I just was pretty stoked, like right off the bat. So that's how I heard about nouns. I can't remember your other question right now.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I have a bunch of questions, and we'll jump around. I kind of do that in the way that I ask questions, and so in reality, we let's kind of focus on a little bit of the nitty gritty here. And so, you
Oh,
guys
you were
have,
asking about sourcing grapes. If you wanted me to take
yeah,
that still.
yeah. Let's go on the grapes for a second. Please tell us about your grapes.
Sure. So the, and I'll talk about it in the way that nouns can integrate with this process. I'll talk about how we did that for my other brand unit, and then how we can integrate and do that together for Wine by Nouns, or Nouns Wine. Um, Nouns Wine was taken on Twitter, but anyways, for unit, it was a creative process in terms of, okay, how are we going to source this? The most exciting place to be was nice wines. Like mediocre wines that you just get a cheap buzz on, like, never excited me. So like we never started there, but it was a creative process for like how we're going to source grapes. And for unit, like, it was a fun creative process. Like the way that I thought would be the, like, literally, like, the best grapes would be to go to, like, obviously where wine is, where is known for wine. And we source our wines from really nice regions in California, but we're not pigeonholed to that. But within those regions, we source from places that experience a natural, cloudy, or misty, like dewy, kind of natural environment. And Napa Valley is one of those. Like the fog on the San Pablo Bay, like, rises off the bay and moves up the valley of 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 Napa Valley. And
Oh man, it's so beautiful to see the fog come out of Carneros and go into Napa and Sonoma. It's spectacular, and it's truly something that you kind of have to feel literally with your body to understand how this wine is working. What is Napa? What is Sonoma? What is Carneros? And I definitely would encourage you to stay open to other global wine regions. The Nouns
yes,
ecosystem is
yes.
is a worldwide group of people, and so I do think that there's a wonderful opportunity for you here from a branding perspective to really look at a lot of different wine regions. I want to take an opportunity here to uh, open up the space a little bit. We have some really great speakers on the stage this evening. We have Wine Bodie, we have Noun 22, Super Tight Woody. Do you guys have any questions that you would like to ask this evening?
I did have one question. I was curious about the size of the cans because in Australia the discussion between like the boxes and then the portion sizes is a super interesting one to me because in Australia I feel like they're subliminally making everybody overdrink all the time. The portions here are not capitalized on like they are in the US or Canada. I lived over there for a while, and the culture is quite different in terms of promoting safer and healthier drinking habits and things like that. Because in Australia, the buy a box and take it to a park culture is alive and real. Like that hasn't really gone anywhere for quite a while. There's a huge drinking culture here, but so I mean that was leading me to wonder the size of the cans because I just the other day I got an Arizona iced tea can. It's almost like a liter. So just curious what size an actual can is because our typical cans here are 375 mil. Can't remember what that converts to in gallons. What do they measure cans with over there? I can't even remember anymore. But
Ounces.
ounces, that's right. Yeah, so it's probably like a 10 ounce or something.
375 is about 12 in freedom units.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'm just curious if they're like that smaller can size or if it's obviously it is smaller than a bottle that's 750 mil, right?
Yeah, happy to take that. the can product that we think is the best and resonates with a healthier kind of overall lifestyle where you're not just getting slammed. Like, wine can be an experience that's, you have a glass or two, and that can be a really enjoyable experience, with dinner, with lunch, whichever, a weekend lunch, or a brunch, or that kind of thing. But the bringing the box to the park with like a group of friends is awesome too. But anyways, the can size is 187 milliliters, which we think is the best fitting portion size on the market. Like, most cans here are that same one you're talking about, that are 375 milliliters, and that's half a bottle in one can. And people are used to drinking beers that size, and like, they drink it and they're like, whoa, like, what? Like, half a bottle, like, down the hatch. And
Yeah,
it's like, the product tastes wonderful, and it's like, that happens really fast, and it can catch people off guard. And it's too, like, if you're having a white wine or a rosé, like, obviously it's nice to have it cold, and by the end, you don't want a warm one. So, like, how about one glass of wine in a can? Like, it's not complicated,
yeah,
but we think it's pretty surprising any others are doing that.
yeah. I think that's a good direction. It makes perfect sense to make it sort of one glass at a time. I think that's the smartest way to go about it in terms of that. And I
It's an
also agree
interesting.
with the warming it up in your hand thing. I'm a huge advocate for sitting drinks in the snow, or like just being out in the snow so your drinks never get cold. I love that.
Ben, where
No,
did you
that's
find
a
snow in Australia?
great question, Ben.
I mean, it's very, very hard to find here. My snow love and culture is all over in Canada.
All right. Well, let's keep going here on some of these questions. And to be completely honest, I'm intrigued by this, and I have a lot of questions. And as you can see, we've already gone 42 minutes here. I feel like we're just getting warmed up, and so really and truly, I just want to say thank you again for Wine by Nouns, for coming here and being part of this conversation, because really and truly, I think that you have tapped into a major opportunity. And it is one of those things that I think not only do you want to get right, but the DAO wants to get right. And this is one of these things that if we get this right, this could be really great for the entire ecosystem. And so I just, again, want to say thank you for coming this evening on a short notice and being part of the Noun Square Soapbox and the Food Noun O'Clock. We do Food Noun O'Clock on Wednesdays here on the Noun Square Soapbox. And we look forward to continuing to add all sorts of wonderful stuff to the overall conversation that is nouns. And so here we go. So I think the $1 million question here, and I'm going to ask it. You are proposing for a relatively small amount of ETH to go into some type of rebranding exercise, which is always fun, super challenging, and really that's where the magic is, in naming, graphics, redesign of websites. It looks as if you have a strong control over your web presence with, and I hope I say this right, Unit. Can you speak a little bit to what your thoughts are on not just this round, but how you would like to approach the Nouns ecosystem in the future, so that we can all have an understanding of that, and also kind of how you see yourself as an organization being sustainable in the future?
Yeah. So in order to source product, there's minimum order quantities to work with producers, and because of those minimum order quantities, we have to produce a certain amount, and we have to be able to move a certain amount of product per varietal. I kind of think it's the most fun if you have 4 or 5 varietals to choose your wine club assortment from, and with the food by nouns thing, like we can do so many pairing things with different varietals, and it's just kind of more fun to be able to do that. So that is part of the production and launch proposal that I note on in the smaller rebranding proposal. The rebranding proposal is where the magic comes from, and where we can add some of our strengths to deliver that Nouns magic on the packaging, real estate, and web funnel that can help convert people on that website into wine club members, into people that have been very pleasantly introduced to Nouns via wine experience. On the marketing side of things, for that larger proposal, you have to get people on the website. You have to get people's ears perked to, like, oh, what's that? And then, a small percentage end up on the website, and then a smaller percentage funnel down into club members and become Nouns members through that experience from a more cost accessible place. I know that there's Lil Nouns.
Good for you for talking on that. No, absolutely good for you for speaking to that, because I think a lot of times entry point into the ecosystem is something that we're all learning. And as the ecosystem grows, so do the entry points. And so, you've literally laid out an entry point that has nothing to do with the blockchain. It has nothing to do with Web3. It has to do with community and wine and hanging out and having a nice time and having a glass of wine. And so that's really fascinating. And I really do think that wine, coffee, beans, and all sorts of other products that are consumables will really hit a lot of these entry points. And I truly personally believe that we will see a lot of entry into the Nouns based on some of these real world entry points. You had mentioned earlier that you have some additional supplemental marketing concepts and ideas. Would you like to speak to any of those now?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone had a look at our social media handle at Unit or at Unit Wine. But we build, like, I've taken many cooking courses. I love cooking for myself. I have a certain, like, I love to make sandwiches, but I love to make dinner. And, I just love flavors, and then pairing flavors with wine, whether you're cooking with it or tasting it, and like introducing cooking techniques, introducing pairing techniques, introducing lifestyle inspiration, like I didn't see who was talking earlier from Australia about going to the park, but like going to the park and having a glass of wine and just having a chat with your friend, or, there's a number of different things that can provide inspiration for lifestyle design, and how that fits into people's lifestyle. And it's a really great tool for that, to have great inspiration, but also a fine product that assists in that. And it's like, if you're just showing up to a party and you bring, 2 6-packs of mini cans of Nouns wine, it's like, you don't even have to be that guy that's like, oh, Nouns. It's like, no,
I
you
cannot
just
wait to
brought
show up to a party with Nouns wine.
you and me
That will
both,
be
buddy. You and me
a
both.
really cool day. That will be a really cool day. So I have 2 more technical questions, I think, that can kind of help lay out, to be completely honest, I'm trying to ask some of the questions that I know that you're going to face in your next round. I think that within your first round here, I think you're right on point with where you need to be with that. And as a marketer, I totally understand your budget and all of how you've laid that out. But as you move forward, the questions will get harder. And so I hope that this evening is just kind of like a nice sip of the nounish ecosystem, because we really do want to see this happen. And so can you speak a little bit about the team that you work with, or what some of the logistical structures are that you have in place?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's a network of systems organized and held together by me. I have a software fulfillment and compliance partner that does our cart software, our fulfillment, our drop shipping, and our licensing throughout many states. I have production teams that package into I contract them to show up and package product. I work with winemakers directly on the product. I work with brokers to source grapes from specific regions. I have all of these connections. I have a designer that I've worked with for a long time, that I worked on everything unit, which, he works with me on a contract basis. He does an excellent job, but it's not, none of the contracts in place are, locked in, or, not a demand. It's more like um, an a way to get things done. And I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to speak with you all, and be heard about what we can bring, so that we can get collaborative on how we go into each step of the process to deliver something that everyone you know that resonates perfectly with everyone, so that it can deliver what this whole nouns thing is really after.
That's dope, dude. I was gonna say, when you brought up collaboration, uh, we do all these spaces, and on the Noun O Clock space that we do, jokingly, we always say like sponsored by stamps.com, which is hilarious because it's like this inside joke. But having products like this, it could potentially be a really cool organic thing where we're just like, hey, let's take a break. And this episode is brought to you by, Wine by Nouns, for example. That, I think, having products like this in the ecosystem can really allow for some really cool collaborative things. And you guys shouted out Napa and Sonoma County earlier, and that's actually where I'm from. So dap to you guys for shouting that out. And I'll actually be going back there next week. So excited about that.
I agree, Woody, that if you're hanging out on an everyday, it's a much easier conversation to talk about wine or cheese or beans than perhaps an NFT or perhaps cryptocurrency in the blockchain. And so I personally think that there's a lot of value in things like this for the Nouns ecosystem. And I wouldn't have asked these questions if I didn't think that you didn't have the answers. I can tell really clearly how much work has gone into your previous business model and your structure. And frankly, I think it's really smart of you to be able to reskin that. I think reskinning things is one of the most undervalued, use cases of technology. Food Nouns is a reskin of the Nouns DAO. And I love Food Nouns. And so, you really have done a good job of seeing an opportunity and just going for it. And so, again, I really appreciate you having the bravery and the foresight to come here and speak to people, because there are people here in this room right now tonight that will be part of the decision of Wine by Nouns. And I know wholeheartedly that however this thing plays out in the future, we will be drinking wine one day with you and with your group. And I really encourage you to really go full steam ahead on this one. I think that it's really spectacular. And I would assume also that, and I'm sure you could go down many rabbit holes on this one, but there are the profit margins, there are the sustainable margins. You have the opportunity to hit price points to create revenue, to create an ongoing sustainable ecosystem. And I think that's a challenge that sometimes projects face in the DAO structure. And so I again want to congratulate you on being set up from not even day one, but before day one. And I'm sure that you gave that quite a bit of thought with yourself and your team. This is my last question, and something that I'm, highly interested in based on what you're doing with Unit and thereby with Wine by Nouns. But can you speak to this idea of a wine club? What is a wine club to you? And how do you see, are there Web3 opportunities with the wine club? What are the Web2 opportunities? How do you want to work in this idea of a club into the overall brand?
Yeah, happy to take that one, and I really appreciate the kind words. It's cool to have people, um, after talking for a little bit, see a lot of the stuff that's gone into this. But as far as Wine Club goes, I think there is ridiculously awesome potential for Web3 stuff for the Wine Club. I and also like the concept of a digital winery. Um, since we're not, uh, you know, border like we can access product from many places, access grape crop from many places, and like part of in today's world, like part of like the experience of wine that you noted on earlier, when you arrive in Carneros or Napa and Sonoma and these huge names, like how did these places get these huge names? Well, it's the experience of being there and all of that. As structured the way we are, we can make a digital experience. And I saw that really frickin' rad proposal from that Xanadu guy, with that storytelling and that whole little like world he created. Like, I mean, that stuff could be wrapped in like a really rad way. I don't know. I would love to spitball on that, but that's like Web3 stuff. But today in like the standard wine club, like you're shipped wine every quarter. Um, we do it with food pairing recipes, um, and supplementary marketing that talks about lifestyle info and community highlights of people in the club. We've hosted tastings before, um, virtual tastings. We can host events. You know, we can have like food nouns and nouns wine, like pairing sessions from wherever. We can do it from where we source things. I don't. There's a lot of potential, and I haven't spent a lot of time talking about potential, because I think it's really important to highlight the things that are here now, that we can turn the key on now, and some of that potential marketing collaborations is very exciting because it would be so much fun. And yeah, I think that's a decent bit of brush strokes on what we might be able to do together.
Oh, you're the Monet of the evening, and thank you for getting the brushes out and loading them up with that gorgeous burgundy paint and painting a beautiful picture for us. I wholeheartedly mean that, and I do think that this conversation tonight will exponentially help you on your path towards success in the Nouns ecosystem. And I personally wish you the best of luck with your proposal. And I just really think that you've done a great job. I hope, I know that this will by no means be the last conversation that we have. I have all sorts of food pairing questions and flavor questions and marketing ideas, and I'm sure everybody in the room does as well. Wine and food is just peas and carrots. And so thank you so much for coming on here this evening. It really does mean a lot to us, and we look forward to continuing to make, great content for everyone involved in the Nouns. And so you've done a wonderful job this evening, and I can't wait to have a glass of wine with you. We do have a
Yes.
POAP for the evening. We do have a POAP for the evening to celebrate such a fine occasion. I see Imagine Nouns down there. Imagine Nouns, how is the POAP going this evening?
Oh, it is poping. It is poping off here in POAP world. But yes, we do have a wine-tastic POAP for you all here for joining us tonight. If you don't know what POAP is, it is a proof of attendance protocol. It is a scrapbook of your life, like creative memories of the days of old. Now we can have them in our pockets. So go to poap.xyz. If you don't have that one, you can sign up for an account. It is free. Hit the plus sign. It will bring up 3 options. Secret word. Go ahead and click that. And the secret word is nounish grapes. All one word, lowercase. Nounish grapes. And yes.
Got it.
And
I
while
also
people
want
are
to
doing that,
bring to everyone's attention. No.
go ahead, Toshi. I was just
Oh,
going
I
to
was
say
just
we got
gonna
a bunch of
say,
shows coming up.
I have another contest. It's going to be for the retweeting of the room. So thank you guys so much, not only for spending your time here with us today and getting to learn about wine by Nouns, but thank you so much for just even sharing the room and wanting to stay here. I random Twitter pickered a person from this room to win a prize of 0.069 ETH for just being here and hanging with us. Thank you so much. And that winners, Hanan Kepin. I see that you do have the Noun O Clock Noggles as your name, and that you still got that Ethereum Panda as your profile photo. So thank you so much for hanging out with us here. I will be DMing you, making sure that you have your wallet address there so we can get you that prize. So thank you so much for that. And honestly, Wine by Nouns, this was a great interview. You did fantastic. We love highlighting builders in the space, and we love highlighting new builders. I think the whole energy and the spirit of the Nouns DAO is bringing in new people and wanting to always have that creative essence coming through. And although we have a Nouns wine head, I haven't seen a Nouns wine proposal. So I'm really, really, really excited about this. I think you're probably the exact right person to be doing this and stuff too. So thank you so much for spending your time here with us tonight too. And just what a great hour of learning about a new person.
Yeah,
Well,
we love
thanks for the
that. We love
platform,
you.
guys.
I would like to reiterate that as well, Toshi. Thank you so much for the contest. And wine by Nouns, I completely agree. I would not say this if I didn't mean it, but I do think that you were completely set up for success here. And I really hope that this moves forward in a clear way, because I think that there's a multitude, an infinite multitude of opportunities for this product into the future. And so again, thank you so much for coming. I will close out the room by talking about a few other shows. If you enjoyed this show this evening, we have a couple other Food Noun O'Clock shows that we're working on to develop. We have a Thursday Cheffish show that's in the works. We have a Friday Food Noun Fridays, Saturday Contest Toshi, which is a Noun Square space. We have Sunday Innovation Food for Thought. We have Monday Milk and Cookies. We have Tuesdays Blooms in Season. And again, back here on Wednesday, Food Noun O'Clock. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's been a really
Thanks, CHEFFO. That's what I was going to say. Stay tuned for more nouns and more Food Noun O'Clock. We love you. We love wine. And we're glad that you're here.
Cheers. Here's to Here's the wine. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Wine by Nouns. Let's go.
Let's go.
We need the Catalina Nouns wine mixer ASAP.
Another one.
I'm gonna be dancing to this song in a club one time with a can of Nouns wine. I'm gonna be dancing, twirling, spinning, and cheersing us all. Cheers to Wine by Nouns.
Let's go. Thank you guys for spending your time with us. Thank you so much.
DJ Toshi. Wine boating.